Love is it? Bottle, this is perfect.
Bam.
So,
Bo,
Hey.
Graeme, thanks
Yes.
for being on the Song Shop.
Thank you.
No worries. It's good to be here. I'm
Yeah.
excited for this. My first ever podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, glad we could break your podcast cherry here.
Yeah.
Right.
What about you, Bo? First podcast too?
Yes, the first official. I've done some with my stepdad Izzy, who was a UFO dude, an
Okay.
old hippie that came from Yale, and
Rad.
yeah, he was roommates with George Bush,
W.
George
What?
W. in Yale.
Doing
And-
rails and yales.
Yeah, and then they kind of he went towards the jock, politics,
cult.
and Izzy, David Perkins, moved to do his dissertation on Libre, a hippie commune, and ended up living there. And
Never
that's
graduating.
that's where I met him. My mom got together with him. He became my stepdad, and he was
Okay.
a rock and roller, wrote music, taught me to write music, and was a UFO dude. Did cattle mutilations, investigations. You see him on the.
He was one of
Yeah,
those.
there was
agent-
one in Aguilar just like last year. I mean, I
Yeah.
got photos of it. The guy whose property it was on, he's
and that's Chris O'Brien's up there. You know Chris O'Brien. He does all the UFO stuff.
Okay.
He's still going.
excellent.
And,
Yeah, my uncle, Grandpa Izzy is what we used to call him.
This is quickly turning into a conspiracy podcast.
it has a lot to do with music and food.
Absolutely. Hey, those are I can tell you guys are like foodies because every time I've been around you, you've had fresh food. So
Yeah, we brought pitas today with goat cheese and potato salad and
And a garlic fancy pickled dressing with. You'll just be amazed. It'll be like a banh mi experience.
I'll never forget you running out in the street to me one day hey, you want a tamale?
Yes,
You were just
and
passing
I
out
had right
tamales?
from the garden.
Yeah.
I had pumpkin,
Oh, yeah,
and
pumpkin.
queso with hot chilies with pueblos.
all the
And you
stuff
were
we
like,
grew in the
those are
greenhouse.
banging.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
So
Yeah,
good.
so we got to go out and harvest fresh pumpkins and chilies, and then went down and just threw down tamales.
That's the most
for
rewarding.
days. Yeah, it was awesome. We
Well,
still had
hip-
some in the freezer. I
we-
did a pork one, and then we did pumpkin and chili, which was
We call hippie
Spot on.
Christmas is October for any type of harvest. 'cause
Yeah,
it's
that's
always
the
weed.
harvest.
Yeah,
Yes,
harvesting your
100%.
weed.
That's the dope
It's
farm
hippie
life.
Christmas, and that was when that kind of magic was for us as a culture to make food together, or tamales, or which Hispanic culture is part of us, being Southern Los Angeles our whole lives. And then he was born in Hollywood. You got your little born in Hollywood shirt right on
Okay.
Hollywood
Repping East
Boulevard.
LA.
Yeah. at
Echo
the,
Park.
There
Highland
you
Park.
go. Used to live there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's our thing. But then we
That's-
came out here because the commune. So it
Yeah.
all started for me with my mom. So my mom was hitting it big in LA, had a contract with A&M Records, Wolfman Jack. She was singing with Michael McDonald from the Doobie Brothers, and they sang like old Nat King Cole tunes.
Wow.
And they were making bank, $100 a night, working 5 nights a week. And so she decides to get all hippified and starts coming up with some new ideas, and decides to tear up her contract with A&M Record and move to a hippie commune right here in Gardner.
I love
and knew these people. And I'm four years old at that point, and that was it. So she leaves LA and comes to the hippie commune, and that was where my life just turned. And I would cry a lot because I'd have to carry groceries and shit, walk places, and didn't have my plug-in TVs and my Hot Wheels with my slot car track with the plug-in. There was no electricity.
You just had the
It was
great outdoors.
just kerosene lamps and an outhouse.
Yeah.
Frickin' teepee.
That had to be
with the-
crazy going from LA to that.
I cried a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of
a lot.
tears.
Yeah.
So it's funny because the story you just told is literally the story of my childhood. Born in Hollywood, growing up in LA, you're working construction, doing music,
Yeah, I was working in Hollywood.
In
I was
Hollywood, building
movie
sets.
yeah.
And mom is working for the president of because she was a secretary for somebody. I can't remember.
Yeah,
what
but
it
she was doing big time
She was
real
doing
estate.
real estate
in Century
like,
City. And,
Yeah. So she's doing all that, and then you guys are like, oh well, we're moving to San Diego to run one of the houses for Brent.
Yeah, we were going to do some indoor weed because my dad was like, dude, fuck Hollywood. Come down here and make some indoor cash.
Yeah.
And I've got this whole crazy scientist thing in San Diego. We're going to grow like the meanest bud and just be millionaires. So stupidly enough, I'm like, yeah, good idea. So we moved down with Graeme and you're like
I was
3.
3, and then we did
Right
San
away,
Diego
you're
for a
into-
year, and then out to Gardner, to Libre, to the hippie commune.
Yeah,
I was
house.
4.
One of
So
our
4 years
labs
old.
got these dudes broke in and found the lab, and that was it. They kept coming back every week after that. So once it got discovered, we had to sell the house. So we just packed it all out, sold the house. We came up with this new idea. Let's grow weed back in Colorado. So we get this
The old
guy
hippie
from
commune.
Santa Fe, and he's like, I got a house I never lived in. Let's go. Let's grow it out, mean indoor. So then we bring Graeme to Colorado, and you're 4,
4
just
years
like
old, just
me.
like you.
Wow.
Moved to the
Wow.
hippie commune. Now, granted,
shit.
when my mom moved, we didn't start growing weed until the 80s when,
Well, I was gonna say
when
you
war on drugs, helicopters, Reaganomics, boom. That was where the big money was. So
They had-
we went from hippies to actually getting flush toilets.
So just to touch on that subject real quick, my favorite story you've ever told from the old hippie commune was Peter Rabbit having the homemade fucking RPG he made to shoot down helicopters when they were flying the crops.
yeah.
It was just like some old
Well,
fucking
we had
pipe dream shit.
We called it Project Zigzag, and we had aluminum tube, and we get those Estes rockets, and we were starting to make aluminum ones with the D motors that could actually get up there 1,000 feet, and we
firing
were
rockets and
creating
helicopters. Anti-aircraft.
Well, we knew that would be a
weaponry.
bad idea because
You shoot
then
down, dude.
the
You shoot
FBI
down a Huey, everybody's coming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it ends right there. You might have bought yourself
Yeah,
some time.
Yeah,
But
you
one
bought
of-
a day to get out.
Yeah.
Some Waco 2.0.
Yeah,
Definitely
exactly.
one of the stories because 2 stories.
This could have been on my wife's podcast.
Yes.
Kind of gone a different direction.
Yeah.
It could go food. It could go. You don't know where it's going to go.
So
I'm glad it
So-
didn't turn into true crime.
no.
Yeah.
And
No,
it stayed
but not.
into conspiracy
But it
theories.
definitely,
Yeah.
It
it definitely
stayed with
molded
UFOs.
me. It definitely molded me growing up on the weed farm into a gorilla of sorts. You know, spending
Yeah.
time out in the bush, watering bud, and getting flown by black helicopters by the
Yeah.
the feds and everybody, and
For sure.
full gilly
Hey,
up,
spend some
hiding in the
time
bushes.
on a weed grow. It's just like a rite of passage. I think
Yeah.
for a lot of musicians. I definitely did it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And also, Jake and I share the same story. I mean, like we're in the midst of we left LA and we don't quite have our hippie commune yet, but I don't know if
But
we'll
you're
ever get there
close.
either.
He's closer than me, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but it does
and
mean
you don't
you're
really
getting
want the
close.
commune. Trust me, they all turn out to be backstabbers. And all those old
Right.
hippies,
Yeah.
they're all at war now.
I want the
You
land.
want your own cult.
Yeah,
That's way better.
you just want your own. You know, the best hippie life is the loner life. It's like, you know, I have my own little spot where
I want the
get to
hippies
live
to
off
come
the grid.
in just for a little bit and then
And
leave.
And then
it's a
they go.
visitation. Come do my podcast.
And
get
you're
that life.
the hermit on the mountain.
just
which is
Yeah.
just
the best
enough
case.
to have people to jam with. Really,
all the coolest hippies I've ever known were all the hermit dudes. Claude, this old dude Claude, he didn't even have a car. He rode his cross country bike everywhere.
I'd see him sometimes coming
in
back from
Denver.
Denver.
I mean, it's
Just-
that's a 4-hour
or-
drive, so it's
Or
a
through the
day
middle
to
of
ride up there.
Colorado in like Leadville.
ride down
Yeah.
from Denver.
with
really?
his
He
bike
would ride
in his
up
back
there.
there. Yeah.
Whoa.
He
Right.
would ride his bike all the way
He didn't
up
have
there.
a car. But
Holy
he'd
So he's
go
like, I'm
all
going to
day.
Denver. I'll be gone for a
Bet
week.
he was in good shape.
He's
Oh,
in
yeah.
great shape, but he got
Yeah.
his
70 years old, just doing
he
it.
got
Yeah,
his
I
he got
love
his
it.
nickname Claude because he got mauled by a mountain lion and got fully clawed up. It was
Took his skull.
took his
Wow.
skull open and he totally survived it and came back and then
They called him Claude.
Claude.
Oh my
You
God.
should have seen the mountain lion.
Yeah. Nice.
Absolutely.
How do you get out of that one? Do you
I
know?
think he gave the mountain lion mushrooms.
What a like.
as the fairy tale goes?
That's
Yes.
just a fairy
Some
tale.
mushroom
Yes.
spray.
But
Yeah.
that brings me back to my 2 fear moments of being a child and moving to the hippie commune and we'd met Izzy, Izzy Zane, or David Perkins, his real name, and he gets us in on this thing. It's Reaganomics, all of a sudden the war on drugs, so the price of weed goes up, and we decide as these poor commune people to start growing weed. So 1979, 78, the first big bust happens. And we run out, we're up on the top of the ridge at the Ridge House so we could see them all coming. And the cops are showing up with school buses to take all the hippies away back to jail. And we're running into National Forest. And I looked at my mom and I thought, okay, like, have you done this before? And she said, no. And that's when the fear came over me of,
Whoa.
this is like, okay, I thought we were just doing something we always do. I was only 7 or 8.
Wow.
And then later, the other fear moment in the growing weed was when Izzy finally was doing big crops, and we had batteries with tripwires in the woods with the, you'd pull the plastic out and boo, it set off a horn in the woods.
Wow.
And it's 11 or 12 at night and the horn goes off. And he's like, those fucking rip-offs, we're going to get them. And he cocks his 45 and hands me this 33 Beretta that he had just got. And now we have guns and we're running into the woods not knowing who's there. And this just intense fear for me as a kid. I was only 13 then. And then, and I just thought, what the hell are we doing? And later I really warmed up to growing weed, and that became my life. That later when we left Los Angeles and came back here, because I went to high school here in Walsenburg, because my dad was like, there's no way you're going to survive public school in LA, and we live in Highland Park, and there's avenues, and hardcore gangs. So he sends me back to here, and I'm like, oh shit, it's the Twilight Zone. Now I'm in Walsenburg, cruising cars like it's 1950s. And I had to make it through high school to then move back to Los Angeles and start my life. And I ended up in just wood shop, building cabinets and smoking weed and growing weed on the mountain to so that I could ski and have some independence from just being, a poor kid in Gardner, which is very remote. Population like 10 in Gardner, and then thousands in the surrounding area, but that's, that's remote.
So then flash forward
To
years to me being 12 and 13 years old, sitting under the canopy with the M1 Garand, it was that M14 carbine that you had.
Yeah.
Mom's gun. And I was sitting up
Protecting
there,
the
protecting
patch.
the patch while the cops
Just
are
like I
flying
did.
and we're trying to keep robbers out. And
Wow.
Like I should have never done the same thing.
Huge adrenaline rush, but it it makes you humble in those moments where stress sets in, and it's like, I could handle this.
Yeah.
I've handled way worse. I lived through some shit, so now, I'm one of those guys now where when the pressure's on, I get calm. When we're at the tightest moment, I'm like, nope, I know what to do.
That's
Just
awesome.
keep moving forward, keep breathing, keep moving forward, because you can get through anything, man. I mean, life will throw you punches every day, left, right, and uppercut. Just got to roll with it.
So you think that this lifestyle has informed your need to create?
100%.
I think some of the heaviest art, and the hippies were all about art creation, whether it was in theater or music and sculpture and painting.
Yeah.
And that's what ended up happening to you guys.
And for me, music was a huge outlet and an escapism almost. Being out in the woods, having my headphones and my little Walkman, with my cassette tape, jamming a mix that my cousin Cole had made me of E40 and all that old school hip hop. I was listening to Farside and Cypress Hill and George
Tribe
Clinton's
Called
Greatest
Quest.
Funkin' Hits. Tribe Called Quest and
That was good.
Wu-Tang Clan.
Arrested
Changed my
Development.
shit.
Gotta have the Wu-Tang.
Dude,
You
Inspector
can't be
Deck.
holding an M1 carbine at 12 and not be listening
Dog,
to
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what changed my life was the Cypress Hill and the P-Funk Greatest Funkin' Hits. That George Clinton
George
album where
Clinton,
he had Coolio and Ice Cube and Busta Rhymes on that album, and it was like the coolest funk meets hip hop moment. And for me, that was when I was like, hip hop is amazing. funk and hip hop is the best.
And that's what we're doing now.
And then I discovered Dre and Eminem, and that's when I started writing my own stuff.
I feel bad for a lot of kids who haven't heard Parliament Funkadelic.
Yeah.
Dude, that is
like Maggot Brain. There's some stuff out there that's like, you got to hear this. Like, you didn't realize, you know, like
or even avant-garde shit like Zappa that led to some of the funkadelic stuff was these freaks of like Juilliard coming out of the highest end schools, but creating music that didn't make sense. Jazz, listening to, Miles or Coltrane and Thelonious Monk has heavyweight connotations to your life and what direction it might take. So you have to be careful with art because it is like a drug or like food that just take you down another road and all of a sudden you're having a different life.
Yeah. Speaking of Twilight Zone moments, was coming off the hill, living that kind of life, to touring with the band, with Planet O, and going to Salida and working with Papa J and the Soul Band and being exposed to music.
The art and the hippies and this dope growing bullshit all leads to how I got into the first band.
Okay.
So when we're growing all this weed and doing all this shit as a 13-year-old, I turned 14 and I started school here in Walsenburg, and Izzy's like, we're getting the band back together. And they used to have a band called the Dog Brothers, these old hippies, and my mom was an amazing singer, so she could just lead a band and be the superstar, the diva. So we get the Roids, we call them the Roids, and that's the new hippie band that I'm on drums. We got my mom singing, my stepdad on guitar and writing music, my real dad on bass, and my stepmom on keyboards and vocals, and then this great Jimi Hendrix dude from Ohio, Nick Dudick, right out of Vietnam, comes back and he's the guitar player. So that was the Roids. My dad was like Hammy, and I was Steroid, and my mom was Marco Polaroid, and all the Roids,
I love it.
Any Roid names are the...
That's a great group. I mean, you got the guy straight out of Nam, too. I mean, a little bit
and
of a family band.
He's just ripping
takes
guitar.
it to another level with Stevie Ray Vaughan and all the... So we create that hippie band, and that lasts most of my life. So I started playing with my mom, my dad, my stepmom, and my stepdad, and Nick Dudick in the Roids. And that's when I finished that, I go back to LA. So I'm 19 and end up back in LA and started doing movie sets. And that's when Graeme is born, when I'm 21. And we stay there till he's about 3 or 4. And then we come back and start the whole process again of growing herb again.
And starting a band.
And starting a band, which we started the Planet O band, which he mentioned. And we had amazing 13-piece band with horns.
13-piece
That was the Soul Perpetrators with a B3 organ guy that was strict about. We did Motown and Stax and we did Monster Weddings for $6,000 a pop.
Wow.
So he was the real thing, and I would do him on the side, and then we do Planet O band, and that was our funk little
band.
mountain reggae.
Reggae and the Planet O band.
Mountain reggae.
And that's what we did his whole life.
Wow. So you were born into it.
Well, exactly.
Into the
So
jam.
like I said, I'm
On stage.
I'm on the hill working the weed farm and then on tour with the band performing.
It's Planet O.
It's Planet O band,
Planet O
and
band,
it's
touring.
and my artistic expression gets to come out through my writing. I'm inspired by the Slim Shady LP. I hear it and it changes my whole perspective on rap music to that point. I mean, I'm 9 years old at this point.
Yeah.
And so I start writing my own lyrics for the first time. Instead of performing cover tunes with the band, I start performing originals. And by the time I'm 10 through 13, I'm between working the farm, going to school, and touring with the band. 6th grade rolls around, I start homeschooling. So now it's full-time growing and touring and doing some schooling online, doing my own schooling. My mom really took on a curriculum of what do you want? What do you want out of life? What are you driving for? And cooking was a huge part of my homeschooling because we live in the country. There's no restaurants. You cook to eat. You want to eat, you're going to cook something 3 times a day. So cooking just becomes another artistic form of expression for me. And by the time I hit 15, I get an apprenticeship at the fine dining restaurant in Walsenburg called Alice's Fireside Cafe.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she takes me on as an apprentice chef, and after 6 months, she makes me a sous chef and puts me on the payroll. And so now I'm running lunch shifts, 5 days a week. And by the time I'm 17, I'm like, I want to go to culinary school. So my parents get me into Le Cordon Bleu. I apply and I get in, and I go out to Arizona and live in Phoenix for 2 years, and in Scottsdale. Oh my God, it was the worst.
So I'm a big fan of cordon bleu. Does this mean I've never heard of that culinary school?
Yeah, so
and I'm just curious, like,
Le Cordon Bleu.
Can you make a hell of a cordon bleu?
Oh yes, the dish, of
He's
course.
French-trained chef.
I have an associate's degree in culinary arts from French Culinary School. So
Yeah.
so I parlayed that into a cooking career. I moved immediately from school. I moved down to New Orleans, and I
Okay.
started working at Commander's Palace, one of the oldest institutions in the city, up in the Garden
Some
District.
French connections there. That's where my
Absolutely.
lineage came through.
Nice.
I'm from
Absolutely.
Toulouse,
And so-
France.
Cool.
And so I always
Wow.
say I got a degree from Le Cordon Bleu, but I got my culinary training from Commander's Palace because it's militant. They run a huge operation doing 1,200 plates for Mother's Day brunch, 1,000 covers for dinner, that type of volume with high quality food.
So how did being in New Orleans and just all of this culinary work influence your music?
So interestingly enough, I had walked away from music for a few years to do the culinary project. And when I got to New Orleans, the fusion of food and music and the lifestyle of New Orleans re-inspired me. So I got my Acer laptop and I downloaded Cakewalk,
writing
and I
it,
started making beats and
Sonar.
writing. Yeah, I was
Cakewalk, man.
working-
Nobody. I
running-
love that. You're the first person that's ever been like, yep, went with Cakewalk.
I went
That's-
with Cakewalk because it was simple and it had preloaded
Yeah.
sounds and I could make quick beats.
I
and
still miss.
Yeah,
that
some
was,
of that.
it was
Sonar.
that was where I got my
Sonar's
that was where I
a
got
good
my
program.
introduction into my own little engineering and
Okay.
how to get sounds that I want and how to sample.
I would think that the French Quarter would re-inspire anybody.
100%. I mean, I started writing down in NOLA stacking chips, hit the bricks and fresh kicks, Garden District smoking spliffs, uptown I'm getting lit, mid city getting boned, Ninth Ward getting rolled, stop the track, here we go.
Nice.
So, that was, I wrote that when I was 19, 20. I'm 35 now, so it was years ago, but it was, it was that moment in my life that inspired me. New Orleans was like, music and food is synonymous.
I knew we were the same age because you said you were 9 when the Marshall Mathers LP came
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not really like a big hip hop guy, but like I remember where I was playing basketball in my driveway the first time that came on the
And
radio.
you were
And I
like,
was,
shit,
You were
that's
like,
different.
whoa, that
yeah,
changed.
just like, whoa, like
Yeah.
what? And
What am I listening
it
to?
turned me on to like, I need CDs because my brother was getting CDs
Yeah.
from like, he
Yeah.
had the BMG CD club or whatever. And I got Blink-182 Dude Ranch. I got Vertical Horizon,
Nice.
Beastie Boys, Oasis, and like then it was like I'm into music now. So it's interesting that like that Marshall
That
Mathers
sparked you into
sparked me,
heavier
but I
music.
didn't go into
Right, you didn't go
No,
that
hip
direction.
hop.
Right.
But you went heavier into music.
I did.
Like-
I did. I was
Yeah.
just like, I could care
Well-
less prior to that. I was just like, I'm going to be in the NBA.
Well,
I'm shooting free throws all day,
what,
right?
What saved me musically was, not just being into hip hop, and I did go heavy. Hip hop became my go-to, my standby for when I'm in the car. I'm putting on hip hop. I'm bumping some tunes. I'm whatever it is, but the influence of touring with a band, being with a full 13-piece soul band and seeing that live, going to see Tower of Power live at Paramount in Denver, listening to old Stax and listening to B.B. King and listening to Stevie Wonder, changed my perspective on hip-hop and made me realize that hip-hop was actually coming from those places.
Yeah.
And so that, for me, gave me this beautiful moment of like, 10, 12 years old being like, oh my God, the stuff that's coming out now in the early 90s, all this hip hop that's happening in Tupac and Biggie, and they're just sampling and utilizing all this
Yeah.
amazing
Zap
music.
band.
You're
Zap
probably
band.
one of the
Oh,
only
Parley.
10, 12-year-olds that
Queen.
could have that understanding.
And
'cause
so
you-
for me, my friends are all like, "Oh, listen to this song." I'm like, "Oh, that's Zap Band," or "Dude, that's fucking old Earth,
Yeah,
Wind and Fire."
California.
That's that's
Zap.
Stevie Wonder. When
Yeah.
Gangster's Paradise came out, I was like, "I know that song. That's Pastime Paradise by Stevie Wonder." So it's like having that music knowledge at a young age helped me to not get pigeonholed into, just, rap music is where it's at.
Well, and then coming out of being in New Orleans, you met a girl.
I met a girl working at Commander's Palace, and we fell in love. We hooked up and
went to the islands.
Moved to St. Thomas for 2 years, and we literally packed up all of our stuff. I went and worked harvest for my dad and made $5,000. And we took that $5,000 and we were like, we rented a condo for 1 week on the island, bought one-way tickets, packed us up in our cat, and we flew down and we said we have 1 week to find a place to live and get jobs. And we did it. Went down, we spent 1 week looking for jobs, found a little shitty apartment and started living our life on the island and did that for 2 years. And so then while I was doing that, I again had sort of walked away from music. And 2 years in the islands, 7 years or 10 years after that in Fort Worth, and I did no music. I was just full-time chef. I was, I was
at the highest level,
running a $5 million restaurant in downtown Fort Worth, and I had reached the pinnacle of my culinary career, and I couldn't figure out why, but I was insanely depressed, and my career was falling apart, my marriage was falling apart, everything just started to crumble around me. And I reconnected with my dad over the phone, and we just started talking about music and talking about songs. And he was like, "Oh, well, I wrote this." And I'm like, "Well, listen to all these lyrics because I always would write lyrics as an outlet." But
so as you departed from music and you were full culinary, you were still writing?
I was still writing, but I wasn't...
Not as much.
But I wasn't
more
writing,
like journaling, or was it actually always lyrical?
No, it was just when I would hit rock bottom. I'd grab a pen and a pad and smoke a joint, and I'd sit with my headphones on and just play beats and just write all my pain and my problems and my frustration and my love and my joy. My children were born, 2 beautiful children. When they were born, I wrote some stuff that was like totally inspired on a new level. It's the happiest writing I've ever done. And, and then into another slump of depression and losing my job and ending up now in a divorce. And, all of those deaths of relationships and parts of me led me back home to my dad in the midst of the biggest project we've ever worked on, the first time we've ever collaborated on music for a real album. And doing this new project has just given me new meaning, new life, so from the death of my relationship comes the birth of the artist again, and I'm reinventing myself and using music to...
And we've been going for about three months now.
Longer than that. It's been almost a full year a full year of talking about getting it done, of doing the project, and now 6 months of actual recording and editing and trying to get something amazing.
Yeah.
And that for me that's music is my savior.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I had gone through a bunch of stuff that led to that same moment too, where I had just gone off the deep end and drugs and alcohol and cheating, and then it all led me back to the family. And Danielle somehow saw me through all that. She's still with me after just heinous shit I was doing. And now I'm totally not doing drugs, not 3 years not doing alcohol, and I'll smoke some weed sometimes, but that is it. I mean, I try not to alter my mind at all, to live inside what my whole life has been drugs. When I was 2 and 3, I was already smoking weed. My whole life has been drugs. And so it's nice to take a break. And then as we reconnected, that led us to here and doing a project together, which was kind of the savior for both of us to kind of reinvent right now, because life is different too. People are reinventing their lives to live in a modern world. And it doesn't have, pot is not a part of that anymore because...
Yeah, the market's gone.
I give it away.
For sure, no, I understand
and that's
that.
what we forgot. We should have brought you tons of weed today.
But
take home.
When I first met,
but we'll bring it next time.
I just want to touch on when I first met you when we first got to town. Like I met Bo the first week we got here.
You rolled in at the mountain.
And I met Babs and you were like, I need a rhythm guitar player, and I was like, dude, count me in.
Yes.
And then and you were like, dude, you smoke? And back then I was still smoking, and you were like, I'll give you a trash bag of weed.
Yeah.
And I was like, a trash bag of weed? And I told somebody else, like, Bo said he'll give me a trash bag of weed. And they were like, he gave me a trash bag of weed.
Welcome to Colorado.
And it was all it was all clean your own. So you can have, and it was good bud, but you had to sit and trim it.
I
trim
sat
it
and watched
yourself.
TV and trimmed it. And it was so funny, man. And then that first year we were here, me and Anna ended up playing a bunch of shows, so I couldn't play with you. But then last year, I got to play like all summer with you.
And the great Nick Dudek, the Vietnam guitar player, passed away after our show, and then he picked up the guitar and started playing with Planet O.
Yeah, that was a big role to fill.
Yeah, but
dude, his spirit lives on in you.
But what you were doing was something on a higher magical level, which was holding rhythm down of something we never took the time to really breathe in a band. Sometimes you have heavyweight players, and they're great, but what about breathing and playing rhythm? And so we started playing rhythm, and we had this show with Clavon, who's this amazing sax dude, and he starts ripping it while we're just laying down rhythm.
Yeah.
I'm on drums, you're on guitar, and Russell on bass.
Yeah, it was like we hit that like transcendent point
Yes.
where all of a sudden like it was like I was completely out of mind, but it was just like I was just riding this like
It's like
and we were
this wave, and it was
some
so
shit.
like in
it's that moment when music becomes color.
Yeah. It was
And you're just riding the wave, man.
It was so beautiful, man. I remember like telling you that after that show, like we
looked
hit
at
that
each other.
moment. Yeah.
And Clavon is he's soloing, but we're all just in rhythm, just boom, chuck, just hit.
And it was like the rhythms that we were all doing together were perfectly like syncopated in this way where it like none of us were hitting at the same time, but it was all like working, like it was like
happening. And it was from years and years of touring, and so he was now a part of this that we had built for so long, and then
you were
to
like
be
the
a
missing
part of
piece,
it.
bro.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, like, and I've said this to Bo, was, you know, growing up with the band, touring with Planet O my whole life, I've heard every variation of this band, multiple different bass players, a couple different guitar players, but Jug was sort of the guitar player forever, but he was always that young drug guitar player who just wanted to solo.
Mm-hmm.
He just always wanted his moment in the spotlight. He wasn't willing to just sit back and hold it down and be a real rhythm guitar player. And so it created this jam band. Planet O was always this just heavyweight jam band. Everybody's just ripping it all the time. And it's like, whoa, it's crazy, it's awesome. But it's different when you, like you said, give the song a chance to breathe. It becomes magic. You find those moments of just holding it down, and everybody's syncopated. Everybody's in the mode.
I like you're letting it breathe, because you guys are talking about lock it into this autonomous kind of like you don't have to think about it thing anymore. Where it's as simple as breathing.
Yes.
You know, and it's like I don't have to worry about staying on time. I don't have to count. It's happening.
It's there's something like so beautiful that I think we all take for granted, that, you know, finding the right people who are willing to like stay in their lane and do what they do best in service of the song. You know, like that is like something that's really rare to find, you know? So like I enjoyed that playing with you guys so much, because it's just such a gift when everyone is willing to do their part. And
so I attribute it to my culinary career and what we call mise en place, everything in its place. If you're organized and everybody does their job, everything is beautiful.
Yeah.
You get the most amazing product at the end when everybody's, like you said, in sync of like, this is the project, this is my role, this is what I do to make sure that the dish or the song or whatever we're doing, you know, artistically, even if it's a painting, you collab with friends, you get inspired by something that gives you an idea that leads to something. And if you're willing to work on my idea with me and do your part and make it come to life, then it's always going to end up magic.
Yeah.
You know, because that's where collaboration becomes the most beautiful moment in art, is when everybody's working towards the same goal.
Well, it's teaching young people to stay in the pocket. My dad, when I was 13, would say, stop playing fills. Don't play boom, ba-dum, ba-dum, boom, crash, crash. Just play boom, chuck, boom, chuck. Just try it for one song. And he'd say, play that blues shuffle. We're going to play a whole song, and you're just going to play
fills.
time. Not one crash, not one fill.
Yeah.
And he called it guerrilla. He said, if you can do guerrilla drums, you'll always work and you'll always be wanted.
Yeah.
And that set into me. So by the time I was in my 20s, I was actually starting to become a guerrilla drummer where I could play with anybody, anywhere, and make them really happy. And how you make people happy is you just play your part and you don't play something fancy because you have nothing to prove.
A tough thing
like,
for new musicians is like actually understanding that you don't want to stand out. You don't.
Right.
If you the
And
best
that makes you
musicians
stand out.
Exactly to the band.
To the band.
You don't want the audience to
Right,
realize.
the audience, they just are happy they're
Exactly.
dancing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's like
That's important to teach young people.
Well,
Yeah.
he's that kind of superstar musician with all the confidence and, you know, in those moments of like him and my cousin Cole being at a live show in LA. And he's like, you know what? I'll be right back. And he gets up from the table and
Got
goes
the band
back,
stoned.
gives the band an ounce of bud, and is like, hey, I'm a professional drummer. Can
I
I
was like,
sit
"Can I
in?
sit in?" So
and
when I
they're like,
came
yeah,
back-
totally. So
Cole-
the next time Cole sees him, he walks out on stage
And
and
I'm
sits
on
down at the drums like,
at this
what the
big show. And I'm just, as the blue, I
happened?
just snuck on stage, got the
man.
band stoned,
You just got
came
the-
out, ripped it up. And all
Yeah.
my friends were like, what the hell, Bo? Like, we
Yeah.
were sitting together and you left
He
us
goes, "I'll be
to
right
go
back."
play with the band.
That's amazing, dude.
So yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
you know,
man.
when you're that, but that's
That was in
where
San
that's where
Diego.
guerrilla drumming comes into play.
Dude, I love your drumming. Seriously, man. Your drumming
Yeah.
is such a gift. It's so much fun to play with you, like genuinely. It's like I've played with so many drummers, dude, and just to have that exactly what you're talking about, and you still like you rip it up when you want to rip it up.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's only
you
in
let
those
it go
moments.
loose.
I let
but
it fall
you
apart.
let it fall
yeah.
apart, but then you're right back on.
Pick up
you
the
know,
pieces,
and
yeah.
it's like you do it so well where me and Danny will look at each other and laugh or something, or you'll look at me and you'll go,
Yeah.
you know, because
It's
he's like, you see what I
mischievous,
just did
Yeah,
there?
that
Like,
moment of satisfaction
Yeah.
when you can drop it and pick it right back
throw
up.
some triplet in there or some 16th 30-second triplet thing in there, and you're like, and you just fall back into the beat. Yeah, man.
Well, thank you.
Well, yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
You know
It
what
is
was
so
you know
fun
what
to
was
play.
so cool for me was coming back up here when everything had fallen apart, and I was at that moment of truth where I was like, I've got to put everything into this music now because I realize it's my new path, like, and I want this to be my new path. And that's the same week that I met you, and we did the practice at Russell's and
Yeah.
right before the Halloween gig,
Where
and
you were telling Jake about this guy, Jake.
well, the first time I met you was at the Canary in Berg, and we
Yeah,
go,
that's fine.
and we're at the Canary in Berg, and I'm like sitting there having a drink, and I'm like, and they're like, oh yeah, and I'm like talking to Jake, like, oh, you live over in Levita? That's cool, dude. I was like, my dad's taking me over to this dude Jake's house. We're gonna go record at his studio,
And he's
and
talking
he goes,
to Jake.
I am Jake. bro." And I was like, oh shit, like awesome, bro.
No,
So
I'm pretty sure Danny was like
this.
that's Jake.
That's Jake.
Yeah.
You're like, I am Jake. And I was like, oh shit. I was
love
like,
it.
you're the man. Like, you're the one I want to be with. And then
Yeah.
from that moment, I felt like it was instant connection. Like,
Yeah.
like
we were in.
we both, I could tell kindred spirit, like we share that
sure.
passion of the sound and just the way we've worked together recording and your patience and your guidance as an engineer and as a basically a mentor to me for this whole project we've been working on is helping me develop and learn and get better every song we do. I feel like I get a little better, and by the time we get to the end, I can't wait to just put it all out on the line and hear what we can make, because it's everything I've lived for to this moment in my life.
Thanks, man.
Hell yeah.
That's
So,
amazing.
I think I saw you guys play. Halloween show?
Yeah, the Halloween.
Sammy's or
Yeah,
what?
it's Sammy's.
Yeah, I was okay.
Skinnies.
Nice.
You
And
sing on the
Skinnies,
drums
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I definitely
Lead
saw you guys.
vocal and drummer.
Rad.
Yeah.
Perfect. Now it's good to put a
Yeah,
I've seen Planet O. Okay.
Yeah, I've
That's
always
Planet
Yeah.
2.0.
Yeah, I've always
Yeah.
set up the drums in front and then the band around me like a horseshoe.
Yeah.
And it's a cool visual. Some bands have done it. The Eagles and he'd always set up on the side. The band, they were lead singer drummers, so So it's kind of a cool effect when the drums
Absolutely.
right up front.
You never
You're like,
forget
that's weird.
a Don Henley
Yeah, the Don
type,
Henley.
you know.
Yeah.
I'm really curious of what it's like, you know, playing music with your old man.
It was surreal at times because he's the star, he's the lead singer, he's the drummer, he's the guy that was like head of the band, he's the dude. And so for me, it was sort of like I'm the prince of the band. You know, I get to walk on stage and do one banging song and I walk off and it's just pats on the backs and high fives and you're amazing and you're so cool. At 9 and 10 years old, that is a high that you can't go back from. Drugs don't even compete. And trust me, I've tried. I've done my fair share of everything and tried my dabbling in drugs and alcohol and partying and it's fun, but nothing compares to that high of walking off stage and just being praised by 200, 300 people. It's just unlike anything else. And that is why I continue to chase music, because there's never been a higher moment in my life than live performing and now recording. Because recording, this is the first time I've ever officially recorded a project. I've worked with them live many times, never made it on any of the albums. But
Okay.
And not to mention, his mom is a full-on blues singer who does not fuck around. So she gets up and tears it like in a different. She has a different approach to music because she's not like writing songs on a guitar or playing piano. She's just a singer, but when she sings, she conveys something so badass, and so she'll sing these down and dirty blues.
Well, you know,
so
that's
you've grown
where-
up with that.
well, and that's where
as
I
like your
learned-
mom and your dad were just on stage.
Yeah, and that's where I got a lot of my vocally education was from listening to mom do the blues and realizing that emoting is the most important part of singing. If I just get up and sing and it's dry, you know, I could sing anything in my regular singing voice, but if you put feeling behind it, if you put a passion behind it, something where you might be pissed off at the world that day, but if you put that into your vocal, it changes everything.
Yeah.
And it makes it amazing. There's never been, you know, an amazing song where someone just sang lyrics. They sang and gave you a feeling. And that feeling is what inspires that energy inside you to be like, I want that song in my life. I want to hear it. I want to, you know, it speaks to me because of emotion. And so when I was young, like he said, it was a lot of Rage Against the Machine. I was more frustrated because no one could hear me, so I'm just yelling on the mic. So coming into the studio where there's so much opportunity to emote and capture those moments, I feel a lot more pressure now than I ever did. Performing live is so easy to me because it's like, oh, I've done it my whole life, and you just get up and you give a performance. It's going to be great or it's going to be whatever, but it's going to work. But in the studio, it's like I want to capture that moment, that I have to bring it to the table at the right time and capture that moment. You know, that's way harder.
It is harder.
So is there a specific chemistry that you find that maybe you can only like really attain instinctually from participating in music with like your actual father? Both of you guys, you know, have that experience.
And my grandfather as well. I performed with his band that we used to perform up at the Dog Bar,
my
which is now
dad
the Yacht Club.
had a swing band, and then they was the spin-off of the Roids. They called it the Quattroids, and they were up doing Sunday dog bars, and he would make Graeme come up and roadie, and he played jump for Graeme to do jump with Cole, and they'd get to do hip hop. And
Yeah, so my grandfather is covering my dad's songs
He would
at his
do-
shows
yeah.
so that I can perform. So it's 3 generations
it was
of,
funny.
of
But it was,
music and culture.
It was highly gratifying to be a part of like a family band like that, where you're
100%.
getting so much out of it. And then, you know, there's the other sides of everything too, where there's animosity from generations because my dad couldn't sing like I can sing, and it came from my mom, so he hated that. He was always kind of a douche about that. And but that was him, and he was a great band leader and teacher, but he was a mean fucker when it came to singing.
Well, I mean, and
to
he
me,
got
because he was jealous.
Well,
of
and he
it.
got his music training from the Army.
Yeah.
he was in the Army band.
Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
where he
In
started his
Korea.
music career in Korea, doing the Army
Jazz
band
and-
and jazz.
yeah.
And so
He was a drummer.
he was very militant about how he ran his operation. The soundboard was a very important part of what he did for running sound and operating the band. And so getting to kind of get that training as a young person as well for how to mix sound properly and what you want to hear and how to make things work, live is a really cool skill to have. So as a roadie growing up as a young kid, I mean, I was, again, 12, 13. I was busy all the time, man. I was between, summers watering on the hill and doing some online schooling and touring in the winter and roadieing in the fall and in the spring. And, it's just like I was just constantly learning and doing stuff. And that was my homeschooling. So my whole high school career was music and cooking.
Yeah.
Music being like, the great communicator, did it give you guys an opportunity to kind of like hash some things out that are going on in the household, in the jam room? Like, is that a way
Surprisingly, no.
No.
Okay.
It was interesting
Very
because
disconnected
we all
from that.
we all had family trauma and issues and things that we were all
But
dealing
music
with.
wasn't part
but
of
we
that.
never used music as a tool to fix it. We used music as escapism.
Okay.
Yeah.
You go into the
As a
jam
drug.
session, there are no problems. It's just
Oh,
about making
certainly.
music here. But
Yeah.
that also is not as healthy as it
Healthy,
could have been.
yeah.
Because then it's just repressed feelings and frustrations that nobody ever talks about that lead to bigger problems that cascade into family violence and drama.
Yeah.
It's just that's
Which lately, as your family was falling apart, it and mine had already fallen apart. As we started to pick up those pieces and talk it all through again, it changed everything. And I think now with music, we're hitting at a higher level because we went back.
because we did the
and
therapy.
Did the therapy, did the work. It was hard. Crying.
by having the hard conversations
like
in real life.
hard.
Then when you go to the music is a lot more organic
And a
as
little
opposed
more
to a jam session.
real. It's a little more soulful and real because you're never lying about anything.
So
Music, it's hard to lie, even
Certainly.
though I do see posers that play music that are not really doing it. They're just kind of there, but you can tell it's not deep in their soul. They're not conveying that.
So this was a little thing I wrote because I was inspired by Jake. One day we were here in the studio, and we were kind of having this similar type of conversation about music saving me and this transformation I wanted to go through, and talking about, I said, searching for the light in my life, I have to find it inside of myself. And coming to that realization, I was like, oh my God. And so it inspired me to write this. Searching for the light, I have to find it inside. Man, that felt so profound, I had to write the shit down. Pain is an ocean and I'm starting to drown. Sun in my eye, don't let me pass this shit down. A young, brave artist spreading kindness abound. In my seed, I see me and all the struggles and grief. Desperately turn a leaf, search for things that could be. Constantly staring in the mirror, but it never sees me. So it was one of those moments where I had been internalizing a lot of pain and suddenly being like, there is a light at the end of that tunnel, but I have to find it in myself. So the deeper I dig, the more hard conversations we have as a family, as with my children and with my sister and my parents. It's really unlocked a lot of inspiration for music. It's made me want to express myself openly to the world and to let that out, because that's the only way it's going to go away or get better.
It's interesting. I'm glad that you guys, I think a lot of people would take the easy road out and be like, well, of course, the music informs the family dynamic, but the fact that you're saying, you still got to put in the hard work. You still got to brass tacks, have the conversations. You just can't work it out through music. Music is a magical thing and a great communicator, but some things just have to be communicated.
Yes.
Well, and I will say,
down and dirty.
and I will say, doing the work and having those hard conversations is the inspiration for the music.
And then it
Then
inspires
you
it
have
properly.
Moments where he wrote a song, Hold the Line, and came in one day after a huge therapy breakthrough and played the piano and sang, and his vocals are so beautiful. The first time I heard a raw track, I burst into tears. I cried for hours listening to that song over and over again because it just speaks so much truth and
I
pain.
had a hard time doing it when I went to Jake, and he let me do it. And then I told him the story, and I kind of just broke in. I was just kind of holding it back, but I was just highly emotional. And it captured it in that moment.
That blew my mind when you came over and did that song, because I
came
had
over-
only heard like
it took,
I
like-
Vibe and like
right.
Jump
It
and
was just
stuff, and then you
15,
came
20
over and
minutes.
you're like, I need to get this down. I was like, sure, come on
Yeah.
over. And then you came over and recorded
played
this, and I
piano
was
and
just
sang.
like, that's my favorite song Bo has ever done.
And we've never touched on it too
Yeah.
much
No,
anymore
so
because
far
it's
it's just-
kind of our magic weapon.
little sacred,
We're
like,
holding-
little
It's so
piece.
sacred, we
Yeah.
can't even go back to it until we hit another breakthrough moment.
Yeah.
And I started to add these African vocals that are pretty damn amazing, but they still have to be developed. And what's really fun about doing music here is I have music from all over the world that are my passion and my love to hear, African and to hear Celtic and to hear Indian, but to actually put those into music, and a lot of the South American and Brazilian, the samba and I'm able to actually do it here because we slow down and you capture time. When you do studio, it's a type of crystallization of time because you're stopping time. Once you
you're
record
grabbing
it,
a moment.
you stop time, and that's a fucking cool thing to do. And then to get to do it by using these other countries that
Yeah.
have influenced me in music,
And you
we're
studied-
really
you s-
doing it.
you
We're
studied-
not.
you studied that too,
it's
right?
It's not like I studied mostly salsa and merengue, salsa, all the Latin beats, on conga and all timbales and all the.
percussion.
That's what I was learning in college, but that led me to hear African music, and because I never studied anything about African music, it was in me, and then when it started to come out, it was real, it was authentic. We weren't making this up or like some white boys just making some shit up, which
Right.
sometimes happens. You get inspired and you try and you fail, and you're like, okay, that wasn't that
and it's
great.
It's funny that you said that, like, not white boys like trying to pretend to do something else, because I flash back on the conversation we had where we talked about all my writing in my youth was me portraying myself as a gangster, and which it had truth
You
to
were
it.
a
I
little
spent.
bit.
I
I
spent.
mean, you've lived
I'm
a
out-
very
I've
interesting
lived-
life.
I've
Yeah,
lived some
mountain
guerrilla, I've lived
gangster.
some guerrilla lifestyle, but I also spent my early teens working in Walsenburg and also selling crack and
Yeah.
cooking crack and being affiliated with Crips and
What?
and
I
doing all
didn't
this.
know that. I'm just fucking.
But
I was
this
like,
was
oh.
this was my early teens. I mean, I'm 14 years old cooking rocks in
That's why
Bern,
you guys had so
and
much money.
That's why I was able to stack $15,000 in one summer.
Yeah, you'd always
And,
have
you
like
know,
Belvedere and shit.
Yeah, I would be going to
What's
house
your
parties at
alcohol's
15
all
years
high
old, and
end?
I'm buying Belvedere for the party, and people are like, "Dude, this kid's a fucking rock star!" Like,
And
goes
you
and
luckily
performs live,
didn't
and
like the drugs. I mean, you probably
yeah,
tried
everybody
it.
else was doing heroin and shit. I just smoked and drank.
Right. You just smoke weed, and
So-
that kind of saves you.
I want to get into your guys' creative process, because in this podcast, we want people to be able to watch it and learn from artists.
Right.
And so I'm just curious, like,
So here's a great important thing
Yeah.
for kids and people. Compartmentalize. Create things and then don't force them. When you create something, let it go. So create a little bass line or a little guitar thing and play 2 chords, and then let that be what it's going to be. Don't try to elaborate on your creations.
Well-
in creative process, let it happen naturally, because 3 weeks from now, you might just get inspired and all of a sudden you're writing poetry and it is flowing. And then the minute it stops flowing, just put the pen down.
I used to have
Stop.
that's cool.
to let it be organic, because I used to sit and, like I said, I'd have a great something, a snippet, and 2 bars, and I'm like, man, that's great. And then I'm like, now I got to finish the rest of the 12 bars.
Yeah.
I have to. You can't walk away until it's full. And I would
don't
write whole
walk away.
pages, and then I'd go back and I'd be like, God, it's trash, or I'd just be like, it's not true.
It's forced.
It's forced. It's not true. I was saying things just to make it work, as opposed to writing a story or telling, a truth, or speaking to people who might have the same feeling
So-
and understand.
Me, a lot of times it's a timing that I'll go 4 years without writing. And then all of a sudden it starts to hit, and I just let it happen and go as long as it lasts.
Okay.
And the minute I don't feel inspired, I put the pen down.
Just ride the wave until it's
Yeah.
done.
And you have to do that because otherwise you end up with tons of stuff that you're wishy-washy and you're not in it. So when that inspiration hits and you're in it and you write things that blow you away, you're on the right track, and then let it go. That's the hardest part, is to put the pen
Just
down.
like good music,
sure.
you got to let it breathe.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
So I would say the only difference for me is it's life moments that inspire me. It's what it can hit any place, any time, and it can be so random. But sometimes, having a conversation with somebody like I had with you, and it sparked that little poem I wrote. It's like, those things for me are momentary grasps at, oh, that's a great thought, that's a great idea, or that's a beautiful, moment, and I want to capture it, and I'll write it down or I'll jot it down. But I've learned in the last 2 years to leave it alone. Just jot down the moment. You don't have to force it into a whole song. You write the moment. And now I've got thousands of imperceptible moments, and a lot of them correlate and become a song. I think it also comes from trial and error. It's working on it. It's crafting your tool, As a writer, especially lyrically, I had to write a lot of bullshit before I could realize when I was really hitting moments, and to understand that, like, wow, I just hit a moment and I need to capture it, and then try to push till you can, and then you're like, I'm losing it. I'm losing the feeling, and to be able to walk away.
And that really is that refining.
And that's just honing your craft. Like anything else, I spent 10,000 hours slicing jalapenos. I can slice a jalapeno in 6 seconds. That's refining your skill, your craft. You got to put in the 10,000 hours, and then when you have those moments that you recognize are a lightning bolt, then you try to trap it in a bottle.
Yeah. Hold the Line, I was watching this psychology thing on couples that Netflix or Hulu, and it's called Couples Therapy. And I'm watching, all of a sudden I have this profound breakthrough on things that I was holding as a child that I wouldn't let go of. And I start crying and going through an emotional fucking roller coaster. And I forced that breakthrough of my emotions out onto the piano. And so I come up with that boom, ba-da-da. Right away I think of Peter Gabriel. And one of Peter Gabriel's songs is called Hold the Line. So I start singing, hold the line, hold the line. And it just got sadder and sadder. Like, I imagine this person, he's like holding the rope of these people that are just drifting off to die or something. And he's holding the line, of the past, or the chains of like Scrooge and Dickinson, of doing this like Dickens.
Yeah, like being visited by your worst times and your best times, and everything all at once, and having to... And
you're connected to your mistakes and the chains that bind you.
Wow.
So you hold it all, and you have to fucking let go.
Well,
that was very not like my process.
Yeah.
So my process was broken.
Cool.
During that, and it was profound.
That's awesome.
And maybe I should have been doing that a long time ago.
So what are we cooking up today?
We've been jamming a ton of Weather Report. There is so much at the beginning of his songs that's just the keyboard part. I want to sample a couple pieces. So we're going to make a spooky song. So the song that we're drawing inspiration from is called The Pursuit of Women with a Feathered Hat.
And just listen to this intro and you'll freak out. Oh, he holds it long.
That's it. I want to sample that line.
Get the smash drum going. Just spooky shit, That might be killer.
I like this.
Well, let's try it out. And then it kind of starts there again.
Yeah, then it starts again, I think.
I can also like stretch it and stuff too.
Yeah,
we should kind of try to find a tempo of the beat that we want.
Yep.
Just beatbox it for me.
Loop that and see what it sounds like, just for fun.
Yeah, that works. I like that.
Yeah, do a monster kick if you have one in there. Do that big one, yeah. There it is. Perfect.
So you're saying like a halftime thing, like
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice.
Are you like that, or do you?
Yeah,
no,
doom. I kind of prefer doom doom or maybe dragnet. Let's see. That's better.
I think it's right there.
Yeah.
That's where it
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. What are you putting in? The
And then it's gonna have to stretch too.
Yeah,
So
we're gonna
let's
have to
just
make that fit.
let's see if it
Let's
works.
see what that
works. You wanna add a little
get the
percussion
third
stuff
part,
later?
the later part with the. Yeah, that stuff, but later after this.
No,
This with the bass. Maybe longer section of this, because does some different stuff, which will be nice for a change.
I like
See,
it.
he's from another world. He's Italian. Yeah, after this. And this is
that's
nice.
kind of nice.
And he does it again, man.
All right, let's see if this works.
Yeah. Working.
So this came to you guys on the
Yeah.
drive up.
He was like, he invited us for the
talked about it.
podcast, and we were driving home, and we talked about this idea.
Yeah.
That tick sound on that sample, can we just compress it so that high comes out?
Same time. It's creating.
It's adding hi-hat, but it's hitting like half a second too late.
Oh, I see what you're saying. This
Yeah.
one right here. Yeah, it's like
Every time.
every
it's-
other
yeah.
snare. It's hitting a little late, but whatever. We're cooking quick.
Trip. Copy paste the whole thing again and we'll play some vocals.
All right.
Little lower. Yeah, that's good. Nightmare on my street, bodies on the concrete, chalk outlines of little kids and they mommies, cries in the dark, dear God, I'm so sorry. Everyone a target, living in the margin, lurking in the dark for the moment to spark shit. Look out! Teardrops on the face, killers never say sorry. Drowning in the sorrow, the souls that I borrow. Lose a piece of myself, like I'm going senile. Blood flows like a river when you in denial. Blade in my palm while I kill a freestyle. Jackson Pollock paint the walls. You know what, it's been a while. What goes around comes around, and I'm spinning out like a merry-go-round. Chainsaw like round, round, round.
Okay, that's sweet.
That's the verse.
Yeah.
So now, here's your lines for the chorus. Do it how you want, and then I'll double it.
'Cause
I wanted to do it like Nightmare Before Christmas. Musical style. Corpse and the crypts, goblins and ghouls, dark and dank, musty and
David
cruel.
Bowie-esque.
1, 2, 3.
The corpse and the crypts and the goblins and the ghouls, dark and dank and musty and cruel.
Sick.
I think it's done.
I'm with Bo. That's how I go.
Yeah, it's done, man.
Now we've got some
You're ready.
Phantom of the Opera shit.
Yeah,
going
it's
on.
kind of Phantom
Let's turn it
of the
into.
Opera.
Very fancy.
This is straight Weather Report meets Phantom of the Opera.
You giving it the Jake special?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Dude, this is definitely the scariest song we've done on Song Shop so far.
It's a nightmare on my street, bodies on the concrete, chalk outlines of little kids and they mommies, cries in the dark, dear God, I'm so sorry. Everyone a target, living in the margin, looking in the dark for the moment to spark shit. Look out, teardrops on the face, killers never say sorry. Drowning in the sorrow, the souls that I borrow. Lose a piece of myself, like I'm going senile. Blood flows like a river when you in denial. Blade in my palm while I kill a freestyle. Jackson Pollock paint the wall. You know what, it's been a while. What goes around comes around, and I'm spinning out like a merry-go-round. Like shh shh, did you hear that sound? Chainsaw like round round round.
Oh my God, it's going down. Everybody's running now. Save yourself. Fuck them kids.
I am the psycho killer, bitch.
Corpse and the crypts and the goblins and the ghouls, dark and dank and musty and cruel. The corpse and the crypts and the goblins
and the good. Talking gang